Installment number 5 of Orb. We are on our way. We are traveling through our newfound heretic friend for the moment. You know, he's going to be gone pretty soon, but for the moment, leading us in a sort of direction to find the findings that he was able to find left behind from Hubert and from Raph, which is going to be really fun to see how all of this opens their world so much more as two people who are opposites initially, you know, of one being extremely negative and the other being the overly positive version until his world came crashing down. And now both of them being left with thinking that there's kind of just not much in this world. There's no beauty to be found or to be had within it. So someone like Gross here is trying to go out of his way and do whatever it is that he can to be able to find that. And this is his last kind of hope almost, or at least a potential hope. I'm not going to say his last, but I assume that he's in the mindset of like, this might be the last one that I do got. So he's going to do anything that he can to find this. It could lead to bad things, you know, just off of our context clues of him not being as represented within the OP or the ED, you'd assume that something bad is going to happen to him along the ways here. But if he can still seek that out and find the beauty in it before he's gone and be left with that illusion, at least that it is here, that might be all that he's actually looking for. So we're going to have to see how things develop a little bit here, especially with somebody like Novak waiting and lurking for the most part. Just knowing that we have this looming threat of him being posed in the background is going to be really fun to kind of navigate, especially now knowing how smart and calculated he really is with all the things that he does. So it'll be fun to see how he plans to skate around these sort of things and continues to be that threat that we've either grown to love or not like him. I don't know where you guys stand. I've really enjoying his character so far, so grown to love from my sort of end for now. But hopefully we got some fun developments. Hopefully you enjoy. If you like at all the link and subscribe down to me, feel free to stick around for the discussion. Let me know comments for this sort of series. Let's go on with the 5th episode of Orb. I think that title gives me exactly what I said in the opening. Well,
頼むよダミアン君さ。これ私必要なの？前々から思っていましたが、その態度は何ですか？
what about
我
it?
々は神に仕え、信仰の安定を守るために働いているのですよ。惰性は許されない。何かあったら、ノバクさんの責任になるって分かってます。いや、それは
We're gonna take a detour.
おい、どういうことだ？どうした？前の馬車、魚車が飛び降り。
I did not realize that they were connected to them, or not connected, but like following like that.
ここで止めて。
Yeah, this definitely ain't gonna end well.
それ使用許可は？
This is why he had the eye injury, right? Unless I'm bugging, but I'm pretty sure he did. They were in such a rush to go find it. Combat skills help you a little bit here. You have a weapon, you have everything, and you're the one being threatened. Come on, think it through.
隙がない。この人強い。戦ったら多分死ぬ。こうなったらあれが。負けました。俺が悪いです。許してください。
The ways of the world. That easy?
交戦中に降参ってどう対処すればいいの？各自判断に任せるって。
That's always fun.
まあでも一度裏切ってるしな。ダメかな。君もう必要ないし。
Wow.
なんで？歴史が君を必要としたからだ。頼む。
His battle is already gonna end. He needs somebody else to take over here. That's how we get it. He's so cool. Nice save. Twice.
めんどくさいやあんまや消耗すると怒られるからさ。それに我々が捉えるべきは今くたばってるこれだしね。私も元傭兵だからわかるが、どうせ奴らは文字一つ読めんだろう。異端になる脳もない。ほっといても何もできやしないさ。
Plus, to be fair, I don't know how close they are right now, but general direction could kind of lead them in a thing as long as he observes it, you know? Maybe I was wrong then. This is like the 9th time I brought it up, but I thought Grass had a eye injury. Oh, he does. Okay, I'll be quiet. But he needs it.
やり直したいかと問われたらそうではなく、おそらく何度繰り返しても同じ選択をしただろうから、
Yeah.
この謝罪は誠実さを欠いている。その点も大変申し訳ないと思う。これか。
The truth. I wonder if it's all the same stuff left from Raph, or if it's it looks like it. I was gonna say, if anything was like added on from the other guy who found it.
手紙みたいです。2つあって、日付が最近のと10年前の。
So it just added on. Cool.
最近の方をくれるか。あの異端者のものかもしれん。
私はこの石箱の制作者ではない。発見者だ。この箱の発見に至ったいきさつについて書き残そうと。
Thank you for filling in the gaps.
視界や高度を考慮し、ここ一帯で一番の観測地を見つけた。
As they all do.
気づいた。そこにある2つの大岩のそれぞれに中央に印がついた三つ星。オリオンのベルトが彫られていた。そして、
I like how it's like all their own like little code.
結局箱を残したのが誰で、なぜ放置されていたのか、いきさつはわからない。しかしその中身は未完成ながら人類の歴史と運命を変えてしまうものだとはっきり分かった。もしこの発見のせいで私が死んだとしても、この発見のおかげで私は幸福な命だったと断言できる。
Dying with a smile. The first time peace.
複数の計算修正をさせてもらった。以上。そっちの手紙には何と？読めません。文字ちゃんと習ってないので。あ、でもタイトルだけならなんとか。なんだ？
Might answer some of the questions I'm not reading that I had in the previous discussion. Holy.
この橋も崩れてる。迂回しよう。捨てるのか？
Are you sure?
異端のですし、気味悪くて。しかし重要な手がかりだ。私が引き継ごう。
Okay.
さあ、行くぞ。
I'm just waiting for the moment that Novak sees it. He's like, huh.
この星空の秘密を捧げる。なお、これにより利益が生じた場合、その1割をポトツキに贈与する。彼の協力は心強かった。住所は、そして我々の今後についてだが、私のせいで君は町にも組合にも戻れないだろう。しかし自己弁護するなら、今の状況を利用して全てを逆転できるかもしれん。この記録の量を見るに、ただの思いつきやほら話じゃない。
No.
本気の何かだろ
う。Intentional
見
too.
せるべき相手に見せれば大手柄をくれるやもしれん。そして箱の内容も知れる。
そんな都合のいい相手いますか？
実は一人心当たりがある。私が惑星について尋ねた修道士だ。
Ah,
名は確か
that'd be very smart.
レーニ。
修道士様に異端の話なんて。
それがただの修道士じゃない。
Of course, they never are.
少し前に左遷されてな。理由は素行不良と思想上の禁忌。
Just like everyone else.
早速行こ
この先もついていく必要はあんまないというか。グラスさんが決めてくれますか？どっちがいいか。
You're coming.
う。二人の方が安全なので同行していただけるとありがたいが。
Logically,
ではそうします。
play your cards right in a way too of just being like, you forced me to go, host the threatened, you know, if you're potentially in that position.
ちょっと北極星を見てくれるか。方角が見たい。さっき目をやってしまってね。
Need you to look up, brother.
すいません、それは無理です。
君の視力なら
空が見られないんです。怖くて。
I get a little too curious again.
神父様に教わったんです。夜空が綺麗なのは汚れた底辺の地球から見上げてるからだと。それ以来空を見ると星が大地に生きている人間を蔑むような目に見えて。
それ以前は空は見られたのかい？
はい。
I loved it
む
too.
しろ多分好きでした。
せっかく好きだったんだ。見切るには惜しいじゃないか。
まあそりゃでもグラスさんには関係ないことですよ。
もちろんない。だが私も昔家族を失ってね。好きなものを失う辛さはわかるよ。
ご家族は今頃天国にいるはずです。いずれ天国で再会できますよ。
ありがとう。私もそう思うよ。しかし私が失ったのはこの世に希望を感じる心だ。だが考えてみれば愛しい家族と出会えたのもこの世だ。だとしたら私は
Some beauty in that now.
この世を否定したくない。難しいことかもしれないが、もう一度この世を肯定したいんだ。
This gives you that
残
chance.
酷ですが無理ですよ。それは希望は天国にしかない。この世は汚れてる。なぜなら
I think you might be,
そうお
buddy.
作りになられたからだ。歴史上の頭のいい人たちが出した事実です。
君はもう完全にこの世を諦めてしまっているのか？
For a long while now.
はい。この世で待っているのは喪失だけだ。しかも人はどうせすぐ死んで天国か地獄へ行くので、そっちを気にするべきです。
The long term.
人は死ぬ。いつか出ていくこの世への思いを持つことに何の意味がある？死後に残るのは自分抜きの世界だけだ。そこに希望なんて。
All your hope is for the thing that you go to. What's the point of being here? Finally, a non-broken bridge.
ここを渡ればもう村だ。
Until we take one
これで
step.
とりあえず一安心ですね。
ここまでは私が無理やり巻き込んだ。だからここからは君に選んでほしい。
I'll no longer be the one that forces it.
この先の選択肢は2つ。1つは村に着いたら今回の経緯と石箱のことを教会に通報する。そうすれば町に戻れるかもしれないし、君は天国に近づく。
Absolutely.
でもそんなことしたらグラスさんは。
You'll be killed, probably. Burned alive. Not even decide then. Make your decision here, if possible.
2つ目は1つ目全部無視してこの世界に期待することだ。
Find a reason, brother, and this will be it. That's kind of sick. Only briefly was it in his hands.
あの異端が命を張れたのはきっと託す相手がいたからだ。君の言うようにこの世界は喪失で溢れている。それに人はいつか死んでここを去る。
But you can be that change, brother.
でもこの世界は続く。だったらそこに何かを託せる。それが喪失まみれのこの世界から生まれたある種の希望だ。
Place it in someone. The last guy who deserves it.
その通りだ。だが君はやる。君はまだ天国へ行くべきじゃない。なぜ？君の顔はまだ死を恐れてるからだ。これが私の運命だ。
Fun also to see the reaction of someone who's killed so many, who kind of emotionless to it almost.
この間やってきた副女祭のほら誰だっけあの人とは大違いだよ。まったくいくら都会で優秀だったからって情がなきゃね。まあそう言わないで。
Alright, be careful, brother. Can't just be showing up. Oh, okay, alright. It's not what I thought. Oh, never mind, it is.
そんな予定はないですが。
Oh, there's one here. Be very careful with the contents of the things you show people that you shouldn't.
何の用で？
Rest easy to my boy Agros once again, who just consistently taken characters, main characters, although never really, I think, to be received by probably anybody to have been the main character, especially if you watched an opening or ending. He his real lack of focus or appearance kind of, I think, definitely shows you that to be the case. But of course, between him and Oxy being the two that we introduce as almost our new founders of what we have here, he definitely was the more likable one, at least in my opinion. I enjoyed a lot more of the things that he had to say, and with him on screen, and a little bit more of his story up to this point. So it definitely hurts a lot to see, you know, somebody else that you slowly coming around to liking to be taken from you once again and so easy. But we are on an interesting path with the story, with the idea of taking somebody or people who don't have real knowledge or understanding in the astronomy realm here and just giving them an opportunity to further history and further advance society without actually knowing really anything or what they're doing, and instead having to utilize their resources and, you know, sneak around and find these people who may know these things. It can always be fun to see, right? We go from having two people who were very clear with Hubert and Raph to being the two that like know what's going on, have really like dived in, researched this, geniuses in a way, to then have two guys who just don't really have the strongest of clues about these things. Gross being that one who does know a little bit, but at the same time not fully understanding things in regards to his own research and observations he was doing with Mars, definitely highlights and showcases that he's not fully at that sort of level or even close to where these others are. So, of course, introducing something where we have a guy to go and meet up with and explore potentially his own understanding, who may have his own resources and people that he can reach out to, former monk and all, it would make plenty of sense, you know, that he's made connections and found this along the way too. So I think it sets us up in a fun and good spot that can allow us to bounce ideas strongly off of a variety of characters here, and utilize their own connections with other people, so that we no longer have to keep things like really hidden and secret, and only one person is aware of like everything that's kind of going on, and we can all go through the motion almost together here of uncovering what they believe the truth to be. So I think it's a really fun just idea that we are setting up, and I'm excited to see the overall progression on it. Also, just from the mindset that somebody like Oxy is going to be strongly developed throughout this, and I think we're already showcasing that a little bit. And I think that's where some of my own reservations, like when it comes to him, up to this point, have almost come from, is just me not being able to connect or really understand him as a person too much, and just not really seeing too much of that appeal in him. But we do all love redemption, you know, and we do love growth on people. So being able to build a character who is strongly, you know, their entire life was directed and altered by an interaction and a thing that happened in the past, and now through the trauma of that carrying into the trauma of him being an adult, having to deal with the eyes looking down upon him and altering everything he does in life to almost be anticipating like what's going to come afterwards, right? And not being able to find that beauty while he's on Earth, assuming that it's only when he gets to that afterlife. It'll be fun to see him maybe break through a little bit and either come to full terms with that to be the case. I assume that's not, though. I assume it's likely going to be him coming to terms that it doesn't really matter, you know, and he doesn't necessarily have to put all of his force into what's going to happen in that life, and whether he continues to choose to be a believer or not is up to him to decide, of course. But I do think that it'll alter where he finds that beauty and his enjoyment of being within this world while he's on it, as opposed to you know, going into heaven itself. So it'll be fun to see him evolve past that point. It'll be fun to see his sharp eyes in a way be able to be utilized as something more than a continuous reference through his partner. I mean, they were utilized in a way here where he's able to like have fast enough reflexes and notice something that he was able to stick his foot between and utilize the necklace, right, to try and be able to protect Gross or save him. So I think like is it too much of a reach to assume that he's already showcased us a little bit and he's going to be the person who doesn't fully understand anything about this? It might be the one to like overall have the greatest discoveries come towards the end. I don't think that's too far of a reach to necessarily make, especially working within a team environment and showcasing that it's not one person who made a discovery or realization on these sort of things. It can work out relatively nice. So I am excited for his overall journey. I'm still not really there on him as like a character that I'm in love with or very excited to follow right now, I gotta be honest. But I do think that there's a lot of hope to continuously grow that and get me to a point that I'm happy I went on the journey of that. So we're not going to say too much necessarily, I think on him. I do think they answered one of my questions I had last week, which I felt was very off to me, of his own profession and the things he did while having these own fears of what heaven is to be, or like what he needs to do to achieve that and get to it. His own lack of like being able to read and you know, education and stuff coming up might be a large reasoning for that. Could make plenty of sense. I still don't know if I fully agree. I don't know if they're at a time where if you don't know how to do that, you can't get hired or do any sort of work anywhere. He can still communicate and be useful in other ways, and probably could just do like a bunch of labor work and stuff like that too. So I don't necessarily know how much I'm still gonna buy into like that's the sole reason why we were in the position that we were. But I guess it is nice to note that like his options may have been more limited than I initially had felt that they could have been due to his own education. So there's that, I guess. Look at you sitting here yawning, not really wanting to be here. Don't you realize that things could go bad and you could be the one found wrong for it, and you could be doing negative work, right? Like not so great things in the, you know, as a representative almost of the church and of God here, to to not be able to step in and do something when things happen, instead have such a carefree attitude. Could be a problem, you know. Here we go, we break free, and some pretty badass stuff coming out of him. I like how he just doesn't know exactly what to do here. Immediately wants to like just kill him and, you know, get rid of him, thinking you defied us, there's no reason for me to not. And then he like goes to surrender, and he's like, well, I gotta play this carefully. Let me see what I can do. Is it even necessary for me to do this? And then having to make his own decision, which unfortunately is use your own judgment. But it would just be easier for him to explain and get away with if he does away with him. So instead, we have somebody step in and sacrifice his own life. Might as well just say fuck it and let you go on your own. Not really worth the trouble. Not really worth it going through. Those who can't read a word and being able to immediately see through. I didn't really understand what he meant when he said that, but it makes a little bit more sense here now. And we travel up through, a little damaged and bruised, to find the belongings that we were looking for. Which I really like the note too that Raph isn't the only one and that somebody else found it. Also nice to see that he didn't directly pass his necklace down to anybody, and of course it was just found through somebody else curious on their own, and through the symbolism and the things left behind of the engravings and stuff into the rocks and in the area of observation that him and Hubert would go to. So it's fun to be able to have all these people who are so similar and like-minded when it comes to their own interest in the things that they're looking after here, to be able to explore that a little bit further and be able to find out whatever it is that they are looking on here. Utilized all your clues and you found exactly what you needed. And of course, immediately upon recognizing and realizing this, he realized that I can do whatever I can to adjust to this and to be able to further things, but this information is more important, the lasting legacy of this and what it can do, more important than my own life. So I have to go out of my way and find that person that I can pass it down to when things come to a close here. Might be necessary to keep that. Yeah, I almost saved the life. Honestly, probably could have in a way if he didn't cut it on his own end. It's also nice to note that Raph gave or offered up 10% of the potential earnings of this stuff to Petotsky, even though, you know, I still don't know the proper read if like Petotsky did, I think, overall a good thing. They could have worked out a plan and saved him, but at the same time, doing all of this to get people off his back a little bit here and give him a chance to continue and live on, to potentially find this answer further down the line when he has a little bit more security and ability, I guess, just to keep it hidden. He probably made the right decision, probably did the right thing. So even though Raph decided that that's not what he wanted and he figured that it would be better just to move on now and pass, it is nice to see that he still feels that he owes him a little bit for all of his upbringing and giving him a place and potential room to even learn any of this. The opportunity to meet somebody like Hubert and all that other stuff too, I think could definitely be important. Figured out that we can't really read. We can't really do much. So we gotta go find somebody. He believes, even though they can't decipher and read any of this sort of stuff, he has the right person who goes by the name of Bedene. He of somebody else who's interesting with his own profession and his place of life, similar to Novak being somebody who just doesn't maybe necessarily align with the positions that you'd find them in, with him being a monk and also him being, you know, a member within the church here of somebody who has taught you about these things that are kind of forbidden, and being somebody who has been demoted and put into a scenario because of his own behavior and his contrarian thought and stuff. We consistently see a lot of people trying to be free-willed individuals and act out on their own and discover the truths of the world on their own without just simply reading it in a document of people of years and years ago who weren't in as advanced societies or civilization to, you know, believe that all their word is seemingly correct. So it's nice that we keep finding these individuals who are exactly like that. Force upon him to come with us until, of course, we have the moment later where they have to break and learn a little bit more about his own feelings towards things. This is more of just a summary and wrap up once again of what's been discussed the past 2 episodes, his own feelings towards heaven and not being able to view the world as beautiful, as well as others kind of posing the idea that there may not even be an existence and all this other stuff. Never lost anything because you can reunite with your family at some other place. But I lost my hope within the world, and we are similar. It's a similar scenario to you. It's a similar state that you've been put into. First, the world was such an unbeautiful and a terrible place, right? Because it took my family and did all of this, and there's nothing here for me. But it was the thing that gave life to it. It was the thing who put me here and put me, you know, in a place where I could even meet these people and have these sort of scenarios and interactions, and then starting to realize the potential beauty in the things within it as your brainwashed self continues to try and push this on to, to other people. Just ain't gonna work. And once again, starting to question too, if this is such a good thing and you should accept death and be so happy with it for the place that you could go, why would you defy these things and put yourself in a position and even then be okay with it afterwards, knowing that you may not have a place within heaven afterwards? And he starts piecing a bunch together till he recognizes the Oxy's own feelings towards, I don't want to be, dead. I'm not fully ready to give myself up in acceptance to it, despite what you consistently try and display and tell us that you are fully, your heart is open to this, and that's the only thing on your mind and the only place that you really want to go. Give him a chance. You can turn me in. You can do whatever it is that you want here when we go. But at the same time, place your trust in this world. Find somebody. Let me pass the torch on to you. Let me do that. It's what happens. Even though it was as short-lived as it was given to a person who he believes could carry that on, or could at least find the next person that will be able to carry that thing on. The only way for hope to be born is for us to go through loss. Pass the torch, my brother. So here we go, and we have a little appointment that we must take on. I do wonder, it's just going to be a long reach here, similar just due to the hair color. But like, what if we do go down some sort of avenue potentially of like a father of Raph being here, right? I don't remember. I'd have to go back towards the first episode and see what he said. But all I remember him saying about potential like family is he was just an orphan and Petotsky took him in. So is there too far gone to say that like, like father, like son, he has a similar interest in the same things that his son ended up having, even though they never had that sort of relationship and he kind of moved on and moved away past that. Maybe we can uncover some more truths and figure that stuff out. Also, as somebody of his own position to be as beat up and scarred here, I am curious what he's been through and why he was even put in this sort of spot. It'll be fun to learn a little bit more about him and what this conversation will be like. That'll be all from me. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked it, like and subscribe down to me. Feel free to check out the channel. The comments of this series. I'll be back for episode 6 very soon. This is a great one though. Peace.